Hi everyone and welcome back to Backchat. I'm Amy, this is my partner Maggie. Together Hello. We are ThinkerThemer and we are still in Los Angeles. Today is the last day, in fact we are flying out tonight.
Yes.
But we thought we'd get back to our regular schedule of Backchat because it's been a little while, and even though we've been overseas we have been keeping our eye on all of the campaigns that have been launching, so there's been a lot of them, so we thought we'd get back to our top 10. If you haven't seen this series before, we rate each of the campaigns to the last 2 weeks out of 10 for our general excitement. We average that and then we use that score to give our top 10 exciting campaigns for the fortnight. Yeah. So let's just get straight into it with our number 10.
Right, our number 10 is for Micro Dojo, an expansion to Micro Dojo called Loyalty and Deceit. So Micro Dojo was the probably the first game on a sheet that I ever received, which was pretty cool. So this is an entire mini board game or pocket board game on a one cardboard sheet that came in an envelope. So it's like very very cheap, but also very good, very fast shipping. And in Micro Dojo, essentially what you're doing is you're trying to impress the shogun, and so you're moving your little kind of workers around to try and get some resources and build some buildings and meet some objectives and get, victory points eventually. This expansion is bringing a couple of things. One, it's deluxifying some of the components, so it's actually bringing in now a new modular board. So it's kind of like a triple layered board where you can now actually sort of change and mix and match the different tiles that would be on the board. So it means that every game is slightly different in terms of what happens. It's also bringing in 2 new tracks of 2 clans essentially that you can support and gain favor with. And so as you're going through those tracks, you get to decide which one you're kind of supporting at any given point. And depending on that, you're going to be getting different advantages. So sometimes it might be just an action, sometimes it actually will be a free building. So essentially with this expansion, all that's happening is really we're getting a lot more components. One of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is a box. This was a game that, because it came on a sheet, it ended up being stored in our closet in a little Ziploc bag, and which is not ideal because obviously, there's a lot of board games usually at the best of times all around. So now it actually comes with a box where you can fit the base game and the new deluxe edition as well.
And we had a lot of fun with the base game. So in terms of bang for buck, this is not just there's a lot of small games where there's no substance. Actually there's a game here.
Yeah.
And it is really cool that it just comes as one sheet of cardboard. We actually have a prototype of the expansion, which we haven't had a chance to play, so hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about that on Small Talk. But for now, we're excited to try it out, and it is our number 10. You can get in on this game. I believe the expansion is only around $7 Australian, or you can get all of the deluxified bits and pieces for $20. So it's not too expensive to get in on this one, and I'm sure you can pick up the original base sheet as well. So that's our number 10.
Micro Dojo, Loyalty and Deceit.
Our number 9 is also an expansion. In fact, it's 3 expansions for Terraforming Mars, the Ares Expedition. 3 new expansions that come in one big Kickstarter exclusive big box, all for $49. And what do these 3 expansions bring? Well, one of them brings new goals and milestones. Personally, that's the one I'm most excited about.
Same.
It also brings some changes to the phase cards to make them a bit more interesting and complex, which I really like. Another one of the expansions allows you to play with 5 or 6 players, the original base game. Also kind of keen on that. One benefit of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition is that it's a fairly fast-moving game, especially in comparison to the original Terraforming Mars. But all of the player actions are taken simultaneously. So it makes sense that this game should be able to accommodate a higher player count. So 5 or 6 players makes sense. And I believe with that expansion, you also get a new track or objective that comes along with that to add a bit more length to the game when you've got that higher player count. The third expansion is the one that most people are excited about, except for us. Because the third expansion is actually bringing in a new co-op mode. So you can play for 1 to 4 players in a co-op experience. It brings a whole new board to the game. And for us, that, as you know, if you watch the channel, we're not into co-op games. So for us, that's not an exciting element of it. And unfortunately, in this Kickstarter, you can really only back all 3 of the expansions together. So if you want to get in on them, it's cool because you get the big box that can store everything in one box. But if you only want, say, 1 or 2 expansions, then you're probably better off waiting till retail. They are coming to retail and they're not going to Target. Last time they went to the base game went to Target before it went to Kickstarter backers, unfortunately. But this time they're not going to Target, but they will be in retail, so you will be able to pick up the individual expansions. There are a few Kickstarter exclusives if you want to get in on the ground now. There's some extra bonus cards that are being continuously unlocked. If you want to pick up some extras, for example, if you bought the Target version originally, the one benefit you had of backing the Kickstarter was the dual layered player boards.
They're handy.
They are really great and they add to the experience. In this campaign, you can pick those up if you had the Target edition, and you can also pick up the player mats. And interestingly, I can't even remember how many player mats we had originally. So I was thinking, if I got the 5 and 6 player expansion, do I also need to get additional player mats? Probably, but I'm not sure how many. And so for that reason, we're probably, just because we would want to pick and choose with the expansions, we don't get a lot of expansions played these days. And also the fact that this game has not hit the table as much as I would have liked. I actually really enjoyed the game. It's faster and easier to get into than Terraforming Mars. But we have other games that fit a similar need, I feel. And so it's just not getting to the table as much. But it is on my radar. It's one I want to keep in the collection. So we just have to get it out and play it
I can see us with the 5 to 6 player sort of expansion, bringing it out to some of our gamer group that is not really, they're not heavy gamers. They're more like, they like more the party sort of stuff. But then there's a few in there that are into like, oh, give me something crunchier. So I think this might be perfect because it's sort of like...
the 5 and 6 player expansion.
Yes, it's sort of going to fit enough of us, but it's still that simultaneous action means that it'll be probably easier to, more palatable than like, well, now we're going to sit for a 3-hour game kind of thing. So for those ones that are
because when we have 1 to 4 players, we're not really reaching for Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, which is interesting because I thought we would. But we tend to go for like 4 players, we'll get a Euro out of some type. But you're right, if we have 5 or 6 players, we'll probably get it off the shelf more. So I'm going to look for that one in retail, but that is our number 9, the 3 expansions for Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
Our number 8 is a game called Island Alone, which is a roll and write game, print and play. We don't often do print and plays. We tend to kind of skip them if we're not going to get something physically in the mail. But this one really caught my eye. One, because it's that kind of island survival theme, which I don't know why.
Theme.
I love that theme. And also the artwork, at least for the cover of it, was really beautiful and it just really drew me in. The game itself is really straightforward. I say straightforward in the sense that like it's pretty easy to kind of see what you're doing. You've got there's a couple of different maps depending on whether you're playing solo or multiplayer. And then there's also different scenarios, which is exciting. But all you're really doing is you're rolling dice and you are moving along. You've got your little meeple and you're moving along around the island. And you're going to be doing things like collecting resources, getting water, getting food, and then crafting. So as you're collecting those resources, you're also getting to craft different items that are going to obviously help you with survival. That in and of itself is like, it sounds good. I like the aesthetic of it. Fine, but then they brought in all these different scenarios, and that's what really gets me, because it's like all of a sudden this just opens up to a whole heap of different challenges that you can do with a fairly straightforward print and play, something that you can do fairly easily at home. So it's obviously, because it's a print and play, it's going to be very fast to be able to get access to it. The cost in Australian dollars, I believe, is $7 for like the base version and $11 if you get the deluxe, which is essentially just bringing in all of the different scenarios, all these additional kind of bonus scenarios, which is probably it's what the most popular option, and it's probably what I would be doing, because then I'd be kind of feeling like, oh, what am I missing out on? So yeah, it looks fairly, it looks like something, it looks like a little world that I would love to spend hours just, tinkering with and, drawing my, I've got one water. Oh no, I'm gonna be hungry. I'm gonna go hungry. So yeah, I'm keen for that one.
I think the thing that's been stopping us with print and play is we don't have the best printer, and we're not really completely set up for that world. Like we haven't quite. You've dabbled.
I dabbled. Yeah.
You've got the guillotine or whatever it is.
Yeah, I already had that from previous hobbies.
Of course you do.
But
we do have a laminator.
We do, yes.
But I'm not sure we've got the best of everything, in order to create like a full game.
I find that what I struggle the most is then the storage of it, because it's like, because it doesn't have a box, then it's like I find that I end up storing it. Like the couple that I did try and print, one I kind of got. They were more ambitious, so there were things that needed more components and things, and then I just kind of got halfway through the process and then kind of abandoned it halfway through. This one is a lot easier because it's just, you just print the sheet, you bring 4 dice, or I think, you can just do 4 dice even if you're doing multiplayer, and a couple of meeples to track things, and that's it. So this one has a much higher chance of making it to the table, but then the storage becomes the...
Yeah. And I think I would play it with you competitively. I don't love that theme as much as you do, that survival theme.
Yeah.
And I really, how I feel about like a long, drawn-out campaign.
It shouldn't be long. I think even though the campaign is going to be like 15 minutes.
Puzzly scenarios, I could get behind that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that is our number 8, Island Alone.
Our number 7 is one for all of the thinkers out there, themers. It's an abstract called Mondrian Colour in Motion, and it's based on, the game is based on an art movement by Mondrian, which is all about bold block colours. And in this game, those bold block colours take the form of these domino-shaped tiles that have 3 colours on them. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be laying them down in a pattern, matching colour on colour where possible, to add pawns to the board. And when you add these pawns to the board, at the end of your turn, you're able to do a checkers-style leapfrog movement over other pawns that are already in the play space, to take them and capture them, which act as your victory points at the end of the game. And the puzzle, of course, is a little bit more complex. You do need to match colour on colour, but then there are some rules around the adjacencies of if you're not completely covering another tile, then you need to be aware of the colours that are next to it because they have to be the same colour. So there's some interesting little twists there. It feels like one of those games that would be really nice with a big group, and also just really easy to teach. And then everybody knows how to do that checkers style leapfrogging.
Yeah.
And I really like that because you have to think about where you place the next tile, because obviously you're going to be adding pawns to the board, but then also your subsequent movement of what that is going to unlock in terms of that flow-on effect of being able to leapfrog each other. So I really enjoyed the concept of this game. We have quite a few abstracts in our household, all driven by me.
Yes, entirely.
And Maggie refuses to play them with me. And so I'll
play it sometimes, but most of the time
I really have to twist her arm, not surprisingly, because they have no theme. But sometimes, you can find one that is just really easy to get to the table, and I do tend to get them out when I have a friend around who loves chess or checkers or those styles of games. But in this case, it's not too expensive. I believe the game it's $30 plus $17 shipping. When you convert that to Australian dollars, it's about $65 all up. And my only hesitation with backing this game is I'm not sure we'll get it to the table to the amount of $65. I'm just not sure we'll get enough play with you. You quite liked this game. I was surprised.
Look, because it looks so accessible, I can see very easily teaching it to like friends and casual and even non-gamer people. And I do actually like the aesthetics of it, even though it's very blocky and it is very, very abstract. It's like, it's a simple, I think I would dig, it's like a double puzzle. You got the puzzle of the colors and then going, okay, as you overlap those colors, that's where you're going to get those little pawns that get placed on top. But then there's going to be the second puzzle, which is probably what I'm going to dread the most, because this is where Amy's turns are going to be ridiculously elongated forever and ever, which is trying to optimize how many jumps and leapfrogs you do to capture as many different pawns as possible during your turn.
Yeah.
So I think it would be an interesting experience. I can see myself kind of going, yeah, that was cool, and probably only playing it once or twice, and then leaving you to play with abstract friends. That is the feeling
that I get, and so it probably won't get that much table time.
Yeah.
So we're not backing this one, but if you do like abstracts, go and check that out. That is our number 7 Mondrian color in motion. Color in motion.
Our number 6 is a game called Tidal Blades 2: Rise of the Unfolders. Now, this is a standalone sequel to Tidal Blades 1, which we haven't actually played, but my understanding is that this game is actually, it's standalone. It's not, it's not like an expansion or anything like that, but it's also quite different mechanically. So it probably won't affect it that much that we haven't played the first one. This one, it is going to be the same world, which is beautiful. So in this game, we play as Tidal Blades, which are kind of like the heroes in this world where there's been, and part of my attempt at understanding what the theme is, but we're in this beautiful, usually peaceful land, and there's been in order to protect the land, there was a fold that had to happen to kind of keep a lot of the sea monsters out, but that also trapped all the tidal blades in, and now there seems to be some kind of fault with the fold, and some sea monsters are kind of breaking through, and so what we're doing is we are going to be, we're the ones rising to figure out, we're kind of newly trained, and we're going to go in there and figure out what's going on with the fold, what's the mystery, and there's going to be obviously a lot of very deep and rich narrative to explore cooperatively, which is where I'm completely going to be losing.
I'm just amazed that I watched all of the same campaign stuff. I looked at all of it and I still didn't get that much story out of it.
This is the thing. This campaign actually has 2 separate games as part of the one campaign, because there's the board game that is what I'm talking about, but then there's also going to be a full RPG based in this same world, which also the book, you can get them sort of separately, but that book is also going to have a lot of the lore and the story of this beautiful world, and the imagery, like the artwork is just so incredible. So in terms of the actual gameplay, again, there's going to be a fair bit of kind of like exploration. You have this grid where you're going to be playing your different they're kind of like tile/cards, and then you're going to be activating combos, and then you're also going to be progressing and evolving the skills of your character, and you can kind of take different paths with how you decide to evolve those. There's an amazing player board, your character board, a dual layer board with, if you get the deluxe edition, these wooden components that are just gorgeous. Like the production quality, I know, is just going to be kind of, my anticipation of it is that it's going to be really amazing. Just from what I've seen as well, because we actually saw, had a bit of a sneak preview, both at Dice Tower West and at Gamma. Actually, at Gamma I didn't actually see it, but at Dice Tower West I sort of saw the book being unfolded, and it's one of those games that I'm just getting into this space in this area. Probably won't go down the RPG path just yet, but with the board game, again, something that I'll likely play solo. But yeah, there's so much story, there's so many different locations to explore, and then I get the sense, apparently, once you reach different locations, you don't have to be battling and doing all sorts of stuff. You can just kind of like chill and explore a little bit, and I love that. So this is something that I'm quite excited to check out, and this is entirely driven by me, because narrative co-op.
Yeah, and if you don't think we can get a small abstract to the table, it's Maggie now by herself, setting up for this huge series of campaigns.
It's like 40 hours of game in this, and 21 different scenarios, I believe. So I think, it's going to be...
and we haven't backed it as of yet because there's a bit of wavering with the cost. The postage itself, I thought, was actually quite reasonable at $26. This is a big game, remember. But if you want to go in on that deluxe edition, which, why wouldn't you? If you're in on this story, I feel like if you're in on a narrative big box game, you want all the trimmings because you're trying to immerse yourself in the world. So there's minis, which I know you're not
I feel like I could do without the minis, because with the stand-ins, squishies I do have a weakness for, but I could do with just the stand-ins instead of the minis, because I know the minis will stay unpainted. The painting queue at our house is... That's not a dig at me. No, that is just facing facts of
That
the
felt
reality.
very
No,
layered.
not at all. It's just it's just the reality of the queue is daunting.
Yes, of games and minis.
Yes.
But it's about 212 Australian dollars, I believe, for the deluxe edition of the game. So this is a big box. You really need to be committed to this game if you're going to get in on it. We've been wanting to try the original Tidal Blades for a while, and so maybe if we try that together and then you can get into the world, or maybe we'll end up back in this. But at the moment, we haven't backed it. We'll see how we go. But that is our number 6.
Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders.
Our number 5 is a game called Small City, the Deluxe Edition. And this is by designer Alban Viard, who is the designer of Clinic, which, if you remember our review of the game Clinic, it's one that we really enjoy. However, it is a really heavy game. It's a tile placement game with very complex adjacencies, not one that you can just grab off the shelf and teach anybody. It is probably one of our heavier games in our collection. And so, not surprisingly, this game, even though it's called Small City, it does seem to be quite a heavy game. It's rated 4 on BGG, which gives you a bit of indication that it's quite a heavy game. But Alban actually talks very fondly about this game, saying that it was the one that he, was most proud of. And yet, when he originally designed the game, he had to make a lot of compromises because back when it was first published, there was no such thing as Kickstarter. And he retells this story in one of the campaign updates, which I just absolutely love because he saved as much money as he could to produce this Small City game. But in order to keep costs down, he had all of the parts of the game manufactured by different manufacturers.
Right.
And so one company did the box and the shrink wrap, nothing inside it. Another company in the Netherlands did the punch board and all of the cardboard. Then he really wanted to have a deluxe component. So he had another company make a mare meeple. But when the mare meeple arrived, it had a bright red nose, which was not by design. It was just completely the wrong color. And even though he said it was really amusing, it just didn't fit in with the seriousness of the game.
Right.
So his wife hand-painted 1,250 mare meeples to change the color of their nose. And also, there were a few things that went wrong along the way, so he had to unshrink all of the boxes in order to repack them, and there were some sizes that were off. He had to manually use scissors to cut down some of the player boards in 1,250 games. But together it was an absolute labor of love. And so they managed to get it all together and get it out to those who purchased it. Along the way, he made a few little expansions and sold all the copies of his game. And as of 2017, the game was completely sold out. So it's been really hard to find. Now, he has commissioned a new artist and he's gone back and changed some of the things that he wished he could have changed. And so that's why he's calling this his deluxe edition. And this time it will be crowdfunded and there'll be enough money coming through to do it all in one package. So that was a really long-winded story about the background of this game. But I really enjoyed that. And it just shows how much of a labor of love it is. He is a math teacher as well. And so that obviously shows in the complexity of his tile placement games. We do like heavier games, and this one seems like a really interesting Civ builder because you are actually playing as a deputy mayor and you've been put in charge of one borough to make it as amazing as you can make it and to get as many votes as possible. And in order to do that, you're going to be wanting to build up your area in terms of the cultural sites that it has. You want to keep pollution down, and ultimately it all comes down to the adjacencies of the tile placement. I think that what's interesting about this game is, and what might appeal to Maggie is that part of the game is very much multiplayer solitaire because you're building up your own little city. Maggie loves that.
Yes.
But then there are points of interaction because if you're familiar with a game like Keyflower, you can actually use your meeples or your tourists to go and use the buildings in other people's maps. So you do always need to keep one eye on what everybody else is doing to best leverage the actions that you can get done. So I'm excited to try this. I have backed this one. So I haven't backed that many games since the start of the year, but this is one that I wanted to get in on. Of course, the fact that it's been hard to get is something that makes me want to try it. Yeah. I don't feel like it'll be a huge print run, so it might be a while before we start to see it trickle through to retail.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to get in on it. There are two versions that you can get. One is $69 and one is $99, and the biggest difference between the two is that the $99 comes with the winter expansion, which if you're familiar with the clinic and all of the expansions that went with the clinic game, it's similar to that in that there are little modules, there's new different city maps that get included, and you can kind of chop and change the additions to the game. With Clinic, we did go all in on that. We're getting a lot of stuff including a campaign book. But on reflection, I'm not sure if we always get like all of those kinds of expansions played. So I'm a little bit worried about that.
True.
So at the moment, I've just gone in on the base game. However, I will say that the expansion, the winter expansion, has the Sydney Opera House as
cool.
tiles, which is really cool. So that's unfortunate. So I may end up upgrading in the Pledge Manager, but let's see. For now, I'm trying to be good. But we are backing that one. That is our number 5, Small City, the Deluxe Edition.
Our number 4 is a game called Oak. And in Oak, we are playing as the leader of a druid order, trying to demonstrate that we are the best placed or the most trustworthy or the most, the ones most worthy of the privilege of learning the secrets of the majestic oak in the forest. So that's a very big thing to say. One of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to start with a very, very humble druid order. So we've got some workers that we're going to be able to place using different cards in different locations, which is quite an interesting sort of thing. So we're going to start with small, humble beginnings, but then things are going to be escalating. We're going to be growing and expanding, and our druids are going to be getting geared up with really cool, accessories, which will actually going to give them unique abilities or unique things that they're going to be able, asymmetric sort of abilities that they're going to be able to use. So overall, I think this is a game that we actually got to see a sneak preview of it, like very nice table presence. Sneak preview of it at Gamma, which was cool. So I got to see the little kind of wooden, the little wooden meeples with the little gear, which is really, really awesome. Just like a Euro, it's got a lot of those Euro-y type kind of elements that we really love. A lot of different kind of things that you can do. You can even cook potions to the side, which I know that you usually enjoy. I kind of go, oh, what's that? And that's just going to give you little bonuses. You have one of your druids is allocated to the oak tree, and it's going to be kind of going up, ascending the oak, learning the secrets, and kind of getting little different points and bonuses along the way. And so there's going to be lots of different kind of things. And overall, it's really worker placement. But worker placement with hand management. So the way that you're going to be deciding where they go is you've actually got hand of cards that I believe those cards can be upgraded for kind of better actions. When you play them, they're called a moot card, and they're based on specific locations, and then based on each one of those locations, you'll get to play different actions with different costs. So it's kind of like a worker placement plus a couple of other layers on top. So overall, it's a game that I feel I enjoy the theme of it. It's going to look beautiful. I don't know. This is one of those where, the upgraded components bring in a lot of kind of like wooden tokens and things like that versus the more kind of
screen printing, wooden tokens, everything that you want.
It's like double layer boards, and so I think it's one of those where it's a game that it looks beautiful. I would really be keen to play it. I just would hesitate on whether or not I personally would back it. And it's really just a matter of if we didn't have such a big queue of things backed.
Cost,
it's a cost
It's
sort
an
of
expensive game, and it's a game where it's interesting because sometimes when you have the tiers of the retail version and then the Deluxeified edition, it's actually stopping me from backing the retail one because the Deluxeified one is so good. And if I'm getting it, then I want that. But now I've got to make a decision about this much more expensive, probably over 160 Australian dollar kind of game.
It's a big investment.
That's a huge investment for what is like another Euro-esque game.
I think that's it. So, it kind of fits in a space where a lot of our other games kind of sit in, and so,
But if it sounds like your kind of thing, and maybe it's not as expensive to get it where you are, go and check that out. It's our number 3.
Number 4.
Number 4.
That's our number 4.
Number 4.
Oak.
Our actual number 3 is Motor City, and Motor City is a roll and write from the same designers as Three Sisters and Fleet the Dice game, 2 games that I personally really love. They're super combo-tastic. They give you that feeling of Gashon Clever, where you do one thing and it unlocks another thing, and you just keep going. You can elongate your turns, and I love that so much. And it feels like you can always focus on something different in the game. In Motor City, you are going to be a supervisor at an automotive factory in Detroit. So basically, you're playing as Sandra from Kanban. You are the supervisor, and everything is under your control. And what you're going to be doing, and just like the other games, you're going to be drafting from a pool of dice. And in this one, the central player board acts as the action selection system. So depending on where you pull a die from on your turn, it's going to trigger a bonus for you, but also dictate what type of action you can take. And of course, on your 2 sheets, your 2 player boards, as usual in their games, you are going to be able to get a lot of different things done, this time all relating to the automotive industry. A couple of my favorites are there's a speedometer. And so you can mark off the speedometer, and it doesn't give you any initial bonuses, but it gives you reoccurring income, which I think is interesting and different to the other games. So you can get in early on that to have this reoccurring income. Another one that I really like is the racing tracks, of course, because along the car racing tracks, you can get a lot of different bonuses. But in order to get onto the track, you first need to be able to purchase the car. And so there's a really nice thematic tie-ins. I think I really enjoy all of their games and have enjoyed them so far, and so this was just a complete instant back. I don't even need to really read about the differences. I did, of course, I did my due diligence, but I'm just excited always to receive their games. I think they're reasonably priced. It's $29 for the game. To get it shipped to Australia is $10, which is really affordable. And I've also found that with these games, I don't see them, particularly in Australia, in retail. And so it seems like they're taking a long time to get to retail. It's also a game that just when they deliver, everyone seems to be playing it. So I really enjoy getting these games early and seeing what all the fuss is about. So we have backed this one. That is our number 3, Motor City.
Our number 2 is actually a campaign that has 3 games, but there's only really one game that we're really interested in, and that is 9 Lives. 9 Lives is a trick-taking game. This is actually a pre-existing game that has had a bit of a refresh and a renewal in terms of the look, and they've really nailed it.
Like it cats.
These
so
cats,
cool.
They look so great. And the deluxe component, if you get the deluxe version with the wooden cats, they look even better. But just the artwork on it is great. As a trick-taking game, it's quite interesting in that there's a couple of things going on. First, it's one of those trick-taking games where you're bidding as to how many tricks you're going to win for that round. But the way that you bid is you have this sort of central carpet or rug, and then that's where you're going to be placing your cats. And you can either place your cats, it kind of goes from 1 to 4, and then it loops over. So 4 and then 5 comes back down to the 1. And the way that you bid is you're going to be placing your cats either bidding on just the one number, so for example the 1 or 5 tricks being 1, or you can kind of split your bid, so it's like a softer bid going, I don't know, I might get between 1 to 2,
like
so
a
obviously
roulette table.
Just like a roulette table, which means that obviously if you do hit it, you're going to get fewer points because you've kind of hedged your bets a bit, but you also hedge your bets, so it's more likely that you will hit it, but if you obviously if you hit it when you've gone all in on the 1, you're all good. The cool thing about it looping around is the later in the turn you get to do your bidding, those bidding positions get blocked. And so if you're the number 3 or number 4th player putting your bid, all of a sudden they may have blocked you out, all the other players may have blocked you out, and it means that you have to now just commit to one number. And so the beauty of it looping around is that if you're committing to only winning 1, you're like, well, maybe I can just push it and win 5. And so that adds another layer. The other cool thing, so that's in the bidding side. In the actual trick-taking part of it is you can actually see the back of the cards has the suits. So the suits are not hidden. You can see the suits that everyone has, as well as the trump suit. So the purple, I believe, the cat suit is always going to be the trump suit. So you can sort of go, oh, you know, this trick, everyone's in suit, so everyone's going to be forced to play the suit, and I'm, you know, have the highest, so I'm guaranteed to win this. Or you go, oh, some people don't have it, but they have trump cards. So that will add a whole other layer of intrigue, I think, to this game.
And it's by a Japanese designer who also designed Ghosts of Christmas, which is another trick-taking game by the same publisher. So the publisher is BoardGameTables.com.
Yes.
And we actually had a chance to meet with BoardGameTables.com. And the first thing that we said to them was how great they are at applying a really cool theme to a rather abstract game.
Yeah, and beautiful aesthetics as well. Like when they kind of apply a theme, like
they really
the
do it well,
really
and it's really nice to see more abstract games having this treatment. And so I'm really excited by this one. If you're not subscribed already to Taylor's Trick Taking Table, go over, check out his channel. He does a full review for this game, as he does for many trick taking games, and we love his work. So check that out. But I'm really excited because he loved this game, and so I'm really excited to get my hands on this one. So that is our number 2, Nine Lives. And our number 1 campaign for this fortnight is Encyclopedia. In Encyclopedia, you are playing as the predecessor to Darwin, who was actually out there documenting all of the new animal species to go into an encyclopedia of these creatures that were being discovered. And that's what you're going to be doing in this game, is discovering all different animals across the world.
Yes.
And you're going to be able to go out and collect them using dice worker placement. I started with theme and I ended on mechanics.
I was very amused watching you talk
I was
about
like
the theme.
I was like, how am I going to lead into dice worker placement?
You're on expeditions.
So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be, of course, rolling dice and then allocating those dice to different actions on the board. And those actions are going to require you to have different colored dice or different dice that have different values to enable you to get actions done. And this is a very classic Euro style game where you're going to be able to go out and get tokens that are going to allow you to manipulate the dice on a future turn, which are always really handy, to get money and then to discover or recruit these new creatures, species. And then you're going to be ultimately cataloging these species. And the game has a very nice linear story to it, even though I'm not doing it justice.
You're doing great.
But what's great with these style of games, this is like I would say this is kind of a mid-weight level game, is that when you've got a game like that, or one that always comes to mind is like Viticulture, that has a nice linear progression
makes
to
sense.
it. It makes sense that you need to do this first before you go and do this, and then ultimately you're trying to do this. In this game, if you watch the reviews of this game so far, you'll see a lot of very happy reviewers.
Yes.
In particular, we'll make mention of Alex's review from Board Game Co. and Rado's review as well. Both were very positive and both talked about the different ways that you can win in this game. And I really like that. And I think that is similar to what Viticulture gives me, is a game that's easy to teach to people because it has that nice underlying story,
the logic.
But then for the seasoned player, multiple avenues to win so that you can adjust your strategy on the fly and try something different. And so I also love the artwork in this game. It's really beautiful. And I really like the theme as well. Like I just think that it would be really easily fit into our collection given the type of games that we like.
Yeah, all those things that you mentioned, I really enjoy. I enjoy the theme. I love how it's that sense of exploration. You actually will feel like exploring as well the different strategies and the different ways of, and apparently from a replayability point, it seems to stand the test of time. So people are kind of going, you can, it sort of feels slightly different every time that you play it because there's kind of variability.
Recruit new experts which give you different player powers, a common trope of the Euro genre.
It's got a lot of the Euro goodness that we love.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't think this is reinventing the wheel per se, but it seems like it's a nice collection of things that really come together into a great experience. So I'm excited to try this game. we haven't backed it yet. Still thinking about it.
Yeah.
It is quite expensive, and shipping is difficult.
Yeah.
And I know by the sounds of it, they are working trying to get better shipping to Australia. At the moment, it's about 50 Australian dollars, which is quite expensive. The reason why you might back it instead of waiting for it to come to retail is that it does come with one free expansion, which is the Fossils expansion, and you have the opportunity to back it at a level where you get the other expansion, which is like the Mythical Creatures expansion. So if you want those, you probably do want to go in on the Kickstarter. For me, maybe not enough reasons to go in with that level of shipping costs. I might wait for it at retail, but we are excited to give it a go, and it is our number one of the fortnight. On a very strong fortnight. If you had a look at our ratings throughout this whole conversation, they've been fairly high.
Lots of contenders.
Lots of contenders, but it is our number one Encyclopedia. And that brings us to the end of a back chat, which is well overdue. So thank you for bearing with us, for all of your patience while we have traveled America for the last month. And as we speak, we're about to get kicked out of our hotel room, so we better get going.
So if you hear us being a bit rushed, because we're literally cutting it very, very thinly.
We are cutting it really fine, but we wanted to get this done because now we enter some kind of time warp where we leave America and end up in Australia like 3 days later or something. So thanks so much for watching. It's been so amazing to get over here and meet a lot of people from the publisher side of things and through to people who view our channel as well. So thank you.
Viewers and supporters. It's just been so amazing.
And we have been reading all your comments as we've been traveling. So thanks for keeping us really uplifted as always. And we'll be back with more content when we're back at home. But bye for now.
Bye.